Hey guys, what is going on? Thanks very much for tuning into Marvel on Tuesday night um, with Bad Publicity. Jameson and Corey here. Uh, I was just thinking there when I'm like Marvel on Tuesday nights, I was like, oh man, this would work way better if it was like Marvel Mondays, right?
Hey man, let's do what we can, all right?
Just you have to think of something for that ties in with Tuesdays. I can't.
Yeah, let's keep moving. uh, we'll workshop that
Oh,
later.
well, Corey, you're a slave driver, man. You're a slave driver. Guys, thanks very much for tuning in. Whether you're listening live, joining us in the chat, or whether you're catching this at a later date, we really appreciate you guys linking up. This week, we're just going to go through again. We're only dealing with our core set here, so what we're talking about is just kind of the combos that we're playing, the pieces that we're reaching for, what we like, what we don't like, experience with some of the scenarios. So just kind of actually not impressions, but just talking more about what we're playing. Um, Corey, I know that you were. We've kind of threw your deck list up in the Facebook group.
Yeah,
The thing with this is last week we were like talking about posting some of these links and sharing the stuff out, but I mean, I think both of us, as we realized it, there's not going to be very much variation between what we have and what is already out there. So instead of flooding the Marvel database or Marvel card game DB with another She-Hulk aggression or another Captain Marvel or whatever, we just kind of were like, you know what, we're just not going to do it, and we'll just talk a little bit about it more. As more
yeah,
variety comes, you know we'll be sharing our deck list a lot more. Both of us will have accounts, and we'll definitely link that stuff all over the place. But right now, as we said with our initial impressions, one of the downsides is there's just not a lot of deck building variety. So we didn't think to flag the internet with another spam post for it.
yeah. I didn't really want to like publish a list and then find out that I'm like one card different than another person, and I'm like, ooh, I'm so unique. I play with three uppercuts instead of two. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. We get it. We get it. Once we get all the new card releases or the new pack releases this week, hopefully we'll get a little bit more variety and some things we can play around with.
Yeah. So you are playing the She-Hulk deck. Do you want to talk about your build and what you like about it?
Well, so out playing a lot of the characters in the core set, She-Hulk is the one I think I like went to the most, is because I love her. I feel like her more than some of the other characters constantly kind of flows back and forth between alter ego and hero mode, just so you can really take advantage of the do you even lift ability on the hero card. So she really wants to like constantly flip back and forth to keep like chaining those triggers. Um, and her deck's just, I mean, you build it in the aggression style, she can pump out so much damage. So while you're letting some of the other heroes at the table kind of deal and work with the schemes, you're just sitting there helping like clear minions off of people, and then just continuously like pushing in damage on the main villain, with just a lot of her really like heavy hitting cards she has. And I do feel like while she's not suited to it, cards like legal practice does give her some really cool like tools to also be able to every now and then she could be like, hey guys, I can clear five, or three or four from this scheme. And you just pretty much just like take your turn, sweep it, knock off some of the stuff from the scheme, and then just punch a few people, then flip back over. So it's just a fun deck to play.
Yeah, I think that there is a little bit of a trap there. I think it, from my She-Hulk experience, I really like to build She-Hulk with a multiplayer game where I know that somebody else is going to be handling threat, and I can just come in with being those you know tank or heavy hitter and either absorb some
Right.
damage or kind of go through and just be the person that's laying the beats down against the villain. Um,
Yeah.
as much as she lays, the grounds to kind of, she hints at dealing with threat. I'm like, I don't know if that's right now is the place you want to be. I've
Yeah.
seen some people try and balance that out, and I think when you 50-50 this deck and try and go that way, I've seen nothing but problems come from that. I think you just gotta play She-Hulk aggression, man, and you just
Yeah.
gotta embrace it and just lay that damage down thick when you can. I mean, that's how you beat the game. Right now, looking at bare basics, there's only one way to win this game, and that's beat the villain down.
Yeah. You just off the top rope,
Yeah.
elbow drop, take them out.
So to do anything else other than that, like, right, like all somebody that handles threat is doing is stretching out that game clock.
Yeah. And she's got like if you just look at like her tool set that she's built in with like focused rage or superhuman strength and 1-2 punch is such a good card. You really want to you just want to emphasize just putting the pressure and putting the pain in on villains and like everyone on there. And I'll tell you, nothing feels better than to like start the turn as She-Hulk, have enough to like do a little bit of damage and get maybe like some assist cards from other players so you can split personality over to Jennifer to refill your hand and then use your one switch to flip back to She-Hulk and then just reset to start pounding again. It's so good. Split personality is an insanely good card, and this is one that like it always feels great to be able to play it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting it's a very interesting card. It makes you wish the fact that there was more cards like this that were forcing you to flip identities so that you could take advantage of her situation. Because I do feel like, again, that's where people fall into the trap with her right now, or so I've seen, where they think that you kind of have to keep flipping to use her power, and they're like, oh, well, I flip back, I might as well handle some threat, so I better put some threat card management in here, and they just feel like
No.
Yeah, again, that's
she has it kind of built in to her I object ability. So I don't really feel like you need to like flood her with a bunch of stuff. Like really the flip back is you're going to take some punishment. So every now and then you'll need to flip back and just heal, and she, recovers 5, which is awesome. But the main reason the flip back is really just to get 6 cards. You're flipping back. The I object is going to stall some of the scheme markers, some of the threat going on the scheme, and then it's going to refill your hand. So when you flip back in the She-Hulk, you're getting that free 2 damage, and then hopefully you're laying some more bad beats down on whatever is on the table. So, she's fun though. There's a lot more to her. Like it could be easy to like, even with the deck having like a single-minded focus, there is some strategy on timing the flips, because knowing or just not being afraid to kind of do that bounce back and forth, but not worry about like having a bunch of the threat removing cards on Jennifer's side, because they're not so great when you're on She-Hulk. Like She-Hulk, you just want to bring the pain, and that's what this deck tries to do. Just brings the pain.
Yeah, and I think that right now is some of the best She-Hulk builds that I've seen that do that. How you do that? Any particular turning points in the deck building right now, Corey? Trying to find that sweet spot of the rest of the card balance.
I mean, you want to have a majority. You want to have a bunch of strength cards, but it's hard to have a majority because there's also a lot of good damage cards that also have the geez, I always call it the lightning bolt, but it's the energy icon.
Mm-hmm.
So your decks are probably gonna be like really heavy in those. I'm a big fan of stuff like uppercut. I like relentless assault a lot. Um, the ground stomp is an insanely useful ability, even though it's like one of the best cards when you're fighting Ultron, but almost guaranteed 100% that it's always going to get turned into a drone when you're fighting Ultron. So you'll never draw them when you need them. You'll just kill them and watch them go in your discard and be sad every single time. But yeah, I think probably like the weakest card to me in the whole deck is probably the Superhuman Law Division, but luckily it's a strength icon, so there's lots of stuff you can pitch it for. And I really don't want to play with two tenacities. I would really like to swap those out for something better. I just don't feel like there is something better right now. And every now and then having the ability to kind of untap, especially when you have like combat training up, just to get an extra swing in is really useful.
Yeah, there's a lot of these cards right now, like Superhuman Law Division, where we're talking about spending a particular kind of resource, and a lot of those, I don't really feel like we're able to build around those cards right now. Even the ones like, you know, Power of Regression, where it doubles the number of resources. So every aspect has one of these cards that double the number of resources it generates for paying for that type of card. And as much as like I'm really experiment with the level of resources and stuff that I'm putting into my decks right now, but I want to put these cards in, but there's almost like the first card that I'm cutting because it's such like a, I have to have this in the right moment. And
Yeah.
the way that I'm really playing my style, like we'll talk about some of the decks that I'm playing, but I try and just cycle my cards as quickly as possible. So I'm not holding cards per turn. I'm trying to just get as much stuff out in the tableau as possible, and or be able to play with the cards in hand. I'm not trying to set up for anything right now, because a lot of those good cards, like the cards that you're putting in the deck, that are mental resources for Superhuman Law Division, for example, you don't want to just burn them to grab, 2 threat off the off a scheme.
You're just kind of like, this should be someone else's job and not mine.
Yeah.
My job is, breaking necks, casting checks. They need to do something else. It needs to be someone else at the table. But yeah, I do agree. Like, I do feel like sometimes few people will get those like double cards, and if they don't have something to use it for in that hand, you'll like want to hold it. And I kind of use them as almost like the lotto. Like if I get it and I have something awesome, I can play with it, great. And then just kind of cycle it through, just keep it moving and keep pulling cards. So, because especially with her, because you very likely a lot when you'll play, you'll pull like your Gamma Slam early. You'll use your split personality early, and especially in like the long game villain fights, you want to get back around to those cards. And I know like reshuffling and getting the treachery cards sucks, but you want to kind of like get through and pull those back through your deck, because like Gamma Slam is a super strong finishing tool, especially like late in the game where you've been up there like taking a lot of punishment, and you can just like retaliate with a ton of damage back at the enemy. So those things you want to try to like find and pull back out.
Exactly. Like you want to talk about some of the stuff in her set, right? Like Gamma Slam's a mental. I don't want to burn that one to remove threat. Ground Stomp's too good for board control to burn as a mental. Superhuman Strength is an upgrade. You probably want to try and get that into play if you get it. That's a mental.
It's insanely good because it also causes stun, and stun is insanely strong to do on the villain.
So right there, your mental resources that you can use to trigger Superhuman Law Division are slowly being outnumbered, right? And then
it's all cards you would rather play than pitch to that.
And then you come to that the only two decisions that you ever make is, oh, Nick Fury, you're a mental resource. Do I put you in to use you for your quick burst, or do I burn you for this threat? Which probably you're going to just put him in anyway, and if you need threat, then you're going to use the Nick Fury threat ability. So,
Right.
just
Superhuman Law Division, like 9 times out of 10, is usually being used to trigger Tenacity to untap She-Hulk. And that's most of its arms just paying for something else. I'm not saying it's like awful, but it's not a card that I go on my way to play, and I feel like a lot of the things that you can pitch in this deck to trigger it, you, as Jameson said, you would rather just play and use as opposed to pitching it to remove threat.
Do you have we're talking about She-Hulk aggression right now. Do you have a card in the aggression deck that stands out to you, or that you'd like to talk about?
That I just really like that's from that set. So Relentless Assault is one I really enjoy. I like being able to do a high damage on minions, especially because it allows her to help out. Like, you can help out another player at the table if they get a bad minion on them. You can Relentless Assault it off the board and still push some damage on the villain. And sometimes you can get like super lucky and use the trickle from Relentless Assault to remove Tough from like Rhino or something like that. So you can kind of kill the villain or kill a minion, take Tough off the villain, and then go back into doing stuff.
It's a great card for the cost for what that's sitting at.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're always love to see that card come up in your hand.
Yeah, you're right, and it's costed a 2, which is great. I mean, a 2 trade, considering the like uppercut can go anywhere effectively, but you have to pay 3 to do it. So Relentless Assault, if you have a minion on board, there are villains, of course, it's hard to do. As like Rhino is an example I gave, but sometimes based on the module you play with, Rhino may not have a lot of minions pop out, so you may not have as good targets for Relentless Assault. That's why I only slot like 2 in the deck, but that's a good one. I also really love the Hulk in aggression.
There's the one that I would have talked about.
Yeah,
I think he's a really cool card, and he's that. I know that I've played with people that are either super negative. They're like, "Oh, here he comes."
he's gonna kill all the allies.
Yeah.
If you got that leadership player at the table who sees you play the Hulk and he's just like, "All right, now, watch it," and you're like, "What? I can't control them." But
the Hulk, I think, is just a really fun kind of game card, right? Like that's the swingy bit of randomness that's cool to see in the way that they've done him, because you can't control what he's gonna do. He comes out, he does, he could do a crap ton of damage, or he can kill everybody. right. Or you could just sweep the board. I mean, granted, it's everyone. So in certain scenarios, like again, like Ultron, so what? You're gonna wipe all the drones out too. You'll have some collateral damage. You got to be careful when you play him, but man, he's fun. Yeah.
It's very, very thematic how they designed that card. So I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, really, really a huge fan of the Hulk. I mean, tag team is the other one. That's pretty standard. Everyone likes to get a tag team out, so there ain't nothing much to see about that. It's well costed for what you're doing, putting it in, and just doing some ping ping.
Right. As needed, clearing some minions. Yeah. It's a good combo when you have someone with the Hawkeye out. Because sometimes Hawkeye can do like all but 1 point of damage, and then you have the tag team back there to like finish him off.
Yeah.
So.
What's your thoughts on the other ally there, the Tigra?
Tigra, I really like her. But it has to be in a scenario where there's minions. So in certain matchups where there's not a lot of minions on the board, she's really just she's gonna jump in front of a shot and get punched, and then maybe deal a little bit of damage. But in matchups where there's like a bunch of little minions going through, she just keeps eating. And just like eats all day long, like chewing through those minions, and just like stays on the board. So
Yeah,
For that, I think she's like really strong.
it's cool. Again, that's what I would have just said. My only problem is she's very scenario based
Hmm.
about how much value you're getting from her. Cool. Anything else to talk about your She-Hulk, kind of, or based around aggression?
No, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just looking forward to see what we're gonna get and see if there's some other stuff I can kind of play around with and customize. I will state that I played this deck more so in multiplayer. I have not played it solo yet. I could see it being very hard in solo because you're very light on threat removal or on like threat removal off of schemes and everything.
Mm,
So this plays like really well when you're paired with running justice or leadership, where they can have a lot of bodies to help kind of deal with the schemes a bit more, while you just work on applying pressure to the villain. I'm gonna give it a whirl solo though. It's a fun deck to play, so
I don't know.
it'll probably go terribly wrong.
Yeah, you'd be. You yeah. Good luck. You can come back and update us on
Yeah,
that one.
right. I'm one of the only ones in the group who really like She-Hulk, but I really like She-Hulk. She's just really fun to play. So, this is usually my large group deck.
Okay, so on the flip side of this is what I've been playing a bunch is I've been playing a lot with to balance out some of the aggression players or the high damage builds that some of the people that I've played with like to go through. I've been playing a Black Panther leadership. Uh, there's a bunch of those builds out there already. Again, take your Black Panther cards, take the leadership cards, and fill it up with the back end of it. But where I kind of have been going and bouncing around is the whole a little bit of resources and playing with how many Avengers mansions do I need, how many helicarriers do I need, um, you know. Power of leadership is that one in the leadership one that gives you the stuff. Do I need that in there? Yeah. Again, it's usually the first one that kind of gets cut because a lot of the cards are not as there's costly as you think if you're really trying to just get leaders or allies down. Yes, it helps out, but I just find it I just trapped because it's very situational about where I'm going to play it because I'm trying to get either Vision, Hawkeye, or some of these high cost allies that are in leadership out. Um, so
Yeah, to kind of jump in on that. Um, Power leadership's really weird in this because really what you pay for, like your only expensive cards that can really benefit you for, are like your allies. There's not really, most of their actual cards are zero cost, and the cost comes from like another trigger, um, or it's just a zero cost like get ready. So
yep.
there's not a lot of cards that you're really benefiting with the double resources for the leadership aspect of it currently.
Yeah, no, like all you're doing is
But yeah,
getting a bonus on, right? Like I say, Hawkeye is a 3 cost. Vision is sitting at 4. Maria Hill is a 2. So you'll be able to pay for her with 1 card, which wow, whatever,
sure.
right? But it's just again, it's the first card cut, but I want it to work, but I just can't get enough of the other stuff. But so what I really love about this set is I love the way that Black Panther is able to so when I'm playing lately, I'm playing either on like the hard or expert levels. I'm playing more
Expert.
I'm playing more the Ultron style builds or expert claw. Is that what it's called when you go to
Yeah,
yeah.
it's expert.
Right.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It's great,
Right,
but
because
it's
I mean we've just gone through the basic ones kind of so much, right? But so he does very well at just kind of like pink, 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 like controlling or helping to control all of the minions that come out, and then
Hmm.
I can obviously take a little bit of threat off with my my Panther upgrades and a Wakanda Forever here and there, depending on the order that you play it. So I like the control aspect of Black Panther, right? Like he can kind of be. I wouldn't say he's as middle ground as what Spider-Man is. Spider-Man's very versatile. I mean, if you're gonna play single player or you don't know what you're doing, pick up a Spider-Man deck and you can slot into any game, and you'll be able to help out. But I don't think that I can take a Black Panther leadership deck, sit down at any kind of table, and just be like, "Hey guys, I'm here to help out." People will be like, "What the hell are you
Yeah.
doing?" Um,
What is he doing? Yeah.
uh, right. So, but there's a couple things I really like. I really like to keep right now. I love playing with allies and seeing the value that I'm getting for them, trying out different scenarios with how I'm using my allies. Am I pumping a lot of resources like first aid and some health stuff into keeping my allies on the board? Are they soaking up damage for me? And what I really, really like is a call or card, foreshadowing slip, called Make the Call. This is a zero cost leadership card. I think it's incredibly strong. Pay the printed cost of an ally in any player's discard pile. Put that ally into play under your control. So again, when I'm playing with someone who's got that She-Hulk aggression build and they're burning through, and or that Hulk is in there, yeah, I'll scoop him out. I'll put him into play,
Yeah.
man. I'm able to, then that's why I like the make the call. We've got a Hulk.
Right. We've got a Hulk.
Uh, I really like this because I'm able to pull any kind of any. Everyone has an ally auto included in their deck, so this is never a dead card and gives me
Hmm.
incredible choices. And I'm always able to pull somebody. Other than the fact that sometimes maybe I don't have all of the resources worked out perfectly to pay for it, but to be able to pull from any player's discard pile like that, I mean, that's the true power of what leadership is doing, is embracing those allies. I really think it's a cool aspect right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I play it in my solo build, which is the Captain Marvel leadership. And I love the aspect. It's a lot of fun. And especially when you're playing in the multiplayer where you're interacting, like, because you're really involved with what the other players are doing and paying attention to, like, what they're putting into play, what's about to go away because of cards like you make the call and like lead from the front, which lets you like buff, someone's board and everything like that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and also inspired, right? So
mhm.
again, that's what I'm talking about. Like, balancing these heroes, or sorry, these allies, playing them across is I think it's a really cool way to kind of control and play the game right now.
do you would you say that Black Panther's? I mean, you said he's probably not as flexible as like a Spider-Man, but is he like a type of hero who, as the game goes on, he can kind of find his niche of where to slot in and where to like patch up a weakness on the group as the scenario is going on?
Yeah, and I mean, it all depends on too. Is that you look at a build like, say, Panther leadership, where the Black Panther events, you got your Wakanda Forevers, you got ancestral knowledge, like all of that is one. Okay,
Hmm.
very very cheap, very versatile. You're probably fluffing it up with other resources. I mean, obviously he's got the vibraniums, and then right now, obviously you put strength, genius, energy.
Right.
The two ofs. Um, so the rest of the deck is a little bit of. I mean, that's the real meat and potatoes, right? So, like we said, make the call is a zero cost card. That's doing heavy work. Um, uh, Once you get some suit upgrades on the table, those are there for the game. Well, I mean, hopefully. So
Right. Right.
so where I am at this with this deck is is I'm just trying to cycle this deck as quickly as possible, right? Like put my allies out. If they die, go through. I'm gonna get through my deck. So a lot of it is looking for those setup cards, taking advantage of Golden City, taking advantage of Avengers Mansion.
And just
then
burning through cards.
yeah, right. I mean, and even if that point, if you have a helicarrier in play, again, that's in play. Set it and forget it. So if you can get to that point where you are able to cycle through your deck quickly, you have your your mid to late game, and hopefully have most of your Panther upgrades out that trigger with the Wakanda Forever. Yes, you definitely have choices.
Mm-hmm.
But he can definitely be put into a corner if you don't have those right pieces, or if your deck doesn't cycle fast enough, because if you burn through your Wakanda Forevers too soon, you could be in a little bit of trouble, with really the only way to pull them back being Ancestral Knowledge right now. And that's not even the best. I mean, that's more
Right.
of a hassle right now. Choose up to 3 different cards. Now, I can't pick 3 Wakanda Forevers.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Rules.
Just because the resource is different doesn't mean they're different, right? Like,
Yeah.
So if you're not really building a cycle deck for Panther, he can get stuck very, very easily. He starts with an ability. It's called Foresight that goes into the setup. Search your deck for a Panther upgrade and add it to your hand, and then you shuffle your deck. Hopefully, what you can do is grab your cards in your opening hand, have 1 piece of gear. But I find that Panther is the kind of deck where you really need to talk to the people at the table. Be like Corey, if I was sitting down with you, I'd be like, so can you tell me what your deck's going to do? What's the game plan here? We're going against Claw. At this point, we kind of know, right? So, like, what these heroes are doing. So you can be like, okay, so he's going to do this. I'm going to mitigate the some of the minions that are coming out, or these are the schemes we've used. But if you don't know, if you're going in, like, if I was to play Green Goblin or some of the the Wrecking Crew, I'd have to talk to you and say, hey man, how does your deck work? Because I have to know what I'm searching for. I have to know what I'm going to use my setup for.
Yeah. It seems cool. Like, it seems like it's some flexibility and, like, transparency. He's the one hero that I've not personally built a deck and played. I've had him in a bunch of games and I watched him because we have a couple people in our group who love Black Panther, and so they always want to play him. I've played everything outside of the box, but I've personally not built and played a Black Panther deck. But it always looks neat. Like, it always looks like he's got flexibility to kind of, like, find out where the rest of the group is kind of falling behind, and to kind of help kind of, like, patch the holes and stuff and help out. So it's a cool deck. Like, leadership looks like a really solid build for him.
Yeah, and I think that's only going to get better as it comes around, because really it's kind of weird, because I don't really, other than him being a king, I don't really see him in, like, that leadership control the allies
Right.
kind of role.
That's right. He's just bossing everyone around. It's like, I'm the king, and then Killmonger shows up, and you're like, oh, why are your Nemesis cards so terrible? So, yeah, it's great. Cool. Yeah, it's a good deck.
Yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm that's my go-to right now. Playing that. Again, it's hard to get some of these triggers, where like Vision, spend the energy resource and give him abilities. There's just not a way for me to put multiple energies in there that aren't going to be, that are throwaways right now. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you got to make a hard choice, but
Yeah,
A lot of those buffs, hopefully, we'll see
like
later on.
don't sit on your Hawkeye too long. Don't be
Yeah,
afraid to do stuff with Hawkeye.
yeah,
It's got to
yeah,
keep him moving.
yeah. You got to put him back in and again cycle him through, right?
Hmm.
Um, so one deck that I think that or one person that you and I have both played is Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is kind of like my other go-to. I haven't really found a good, or I would say my my go-to for Captain Marvel. I've played
Hmm.
Justice Captain Marvel, I guess, um, a bunch of times, and mostly it's just to try and get some more energy cards in there.
Yeah,
But I really like Captain Marvel as well.
she's fun. I mean, she's got, as I said, she's been my go-to solo deck. And I usually play her as leadership because with leadership has one more ally than the other decks do. So getting more characters on the board potentially on solo, I feel like gives you like a little bit of advantage to have more bodies in the way.
Mm,
And then the fact that she's got card draw in some form or fashion on both of her sides, so her alter ego and hero, plus she's got other cards that will draw you cards. So she feels like she's balanced really well of trying to get to let you dig to get to your tools and have things kind of deal with different situations. So in her hero card, she's got like good threat removal, good damage. She's got her spirit bomb ability effectively where she's just powering up to like nuke some big bad on the board. So she's just a lot of fun to play in solo. I've brought the deck and lent it to other people to play in multiplayer and it's been fine, but the one that I have is tuned for solo play.
yeah, I think she's got some great potential down the road.
Mhm.
Some weird. Uh, the one thing I like about Captain Marvel is that her card set really flows nicely. The one I don't understand is Spider Woman.
Right. she's she just like pops up. She's like, yeah, that is a weird include in her deck, right?
Yeah, especially from a core. I was like, you know, couldn't she have her other friend and stuff like that? Or, I mean, unless there's some weird tie in the comics. Like I said, I'm not the super uber over the top read every comic, um, but just the Spider Woman thing kind of it did confuse me. So it was an interesting ability
Oh,
on Spider Woman.
thematic. It just confuses everybody.
Yeah, after Spider Woman enters play, confuse yourself why she's in the Carol Danvers deck.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting choice of like all the options, but I'm not, I'm not read heavily in any of the Captain Marvel stuff, so there could be a link there that I'm just very unaware of that could be very strong. Um, but yeah, it is an interesting choice between like I feel like everything else they could have picked that was the ally they decided to put in that deck.
Yeah, but the rest of it, really cool, makes sense. I mean, it seems like everyone's got a little bit of their draw. She's got the Alpha Flight Station.
Hmm.
Although I never,
Really good.
yeah, I
It's
don't.
really good.
It is, but I don't find that I'm able to because it's only one. I've
Yeah.
it just if I can't get it at the beginning, I've already am in a point where I'm either looking for other setup cards, and this is the one that I need to burn to spend resources. But
Yeah.
uh,
I think also what makes her really good is energy absorption is an insane card. Just having three resource symbols on a single card lets you play some of the heavy hitter like cards really early. So you can get out like that Avengers Mansion pretty quickly. You can get Nick Fury on board just using two cards.
yep. And then
Um,
later on, after you cycle, you're just charging up your energy channel and just
yeah,
going to town.
that's right. You're gonna Kamehameha the villain right off the board. It's nuke 'em. But yeah, she's a lot of fun. I really enjoy her play style and everything. I mean, in a card game, if you like drawing cards, that's a good deck to play because she does it on both sides. Drawing cards turns out to be pretty good in a card game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's an early lesson you learn, right?
Right.
But
FFG and a character that draws cards, eh? So,
oh, from her her basic ability and stuff like that. And
mhm.
the whole fact that Carol can give that action away too, right? So
Right.
I mean, just a powerful player. In that team game environment, she can just do that heavy damage. She doesn't. I feel like she doesn't really have a lot of setup. If you can get flight attached to her early, and then maybe just her helmet to get things. I
Yeah.
mean that's really kind of the only two pieces you really need on the board, and then other than that, you're just like let me loose.
Yeah, and I would say that's probably the wonkiest thing about her is she only has two copies of Cosmic Flight, which gives her flight. And so if you don't have those, then like the helmet's okay, but you don't get the really awesome benefit off of Crisis Interdiction
Mm,
until you dig and find it. Because Crisis Interdiction is good. It's okay by itself, but when you get the aerial trait and you're pulling off effectively two threat from two different schemes, that's really strong to stabilize the board and everything. So like digging and finding Cosmic Flight is probably about the only thing you want to do, and it can be a little awkward when you draw like all the cards that want aerial early and you haven't found one of the two copies of the card that can give you flight or aerial in the deck.
yeah, and that's why, like I say, like pairing her when I do it, with the Justice build, like for Justice gives me she has a enough kind of mental abilities in this Justice build scattered through that you can kind of get that for scheme off with for Justice. Surveillance team,
Yeah.
while you're beating down the minions, taking down a little bit of threat here and there. I think she's a great hero. I don't want to say she's underrated, but I know that I don't feel like she's the first one out the box that people reach for. Other than, I think people want that Spider-Man. Obviously,
Or Iron Man. I
he's
feel like a
great.
lot of people jumped Iron
I
Man
was just
too.
gonna say. So I was gonna say that people jump into and want Spider-Man, then they play Iron Man, they're quickly let down, and then they move to somewhere else, right?
Uh,
But Captain
yeah.
Marvel definitely needs to get good love. The only thing, honestly, is that's moved me away from her is that again, as we get more cards, hopefully it goes through. But I played her. She was my go-to out the box.
Mhm.
And so I've played a lot of Captain Marvel, and now just kind of diversifying into Black Panther leadership with a different style. I didn't really gravitate towards Captain Marvel leadership. I felt she was doing enough damage and could do enough
Yeah.
that she could hold her own.
Yeah, if I built the deck more to multiplayer, I don't know if leadership is what I would choose. As I said earlier, the main reason why I picked leadership was for solo play because I wanted to kind of put a deck to just test scenarios out myself, and I felt leadership was just really good for solo play because of the extra ally slot, and for cards like get ready and make the call where you can pull stuff out of your graveyard effectively your discard. Um, it was just really strong. So. And it's helped out a bunch because again, like just having extra bodies on the field is useful in a lot of the scenarios.
Yeah. So Corey, anything else that you kind of want to touch on that you're playing?
No, I mean I think that's the big thing. I mean, I know a lot of us are just looking forward to these packs dropping this week so we can get some new stuff to play with and try out some new builds. We get Captain America, and like everything else is going to come in with his deck and Miss Marvel. So
Boom,
like.
boom.
Yeah, I know two new, hopefully really fun heroes to kind of play around with and dabble in some new cards to kind of mix things up a little bit with some of these older builds.
We can talk about it later on in a different one, but as a transition here, before we wrap, any encounter that you are favoring towards out of the three villains to face right now?
So I didn't get to fully meet up with my regular group last week, so I taught some new people how to play the game. So we did an expert Rhino with Bomb Scare, which is I introduced them to the game, but I made them play expert. So but we won, and it was an enjoyable time. The scenario that we've been playing through that our group has not beat yet has been Claw Expert Legions of Hydra. We've come very close, but it's like we trip at the goal line. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
But
Claw,
I really want to get past that.
Expert Claw is the one that we seem to gravitate towards too, as the lock it in there. I think just the right amount of stuff comes out with minions. He doesn't really spiral out of control as fast as Ultron can.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna up the difficulty, playing Claw, playing the chair, you can get right nasty with that. Right?
God,
the wrong cards come out at the wrong time, and if MODOK hits the table and then gets boosted, where you not only have to beat him but have to beat him twice, you're just like, oh, good God.
Yeah, the chair sounds disgusting. I've only had one experience with it so far, playing solo, and it was like my nemesis was revealed, followed immediately by MODOK, and I just scooped up the cards, and I was like, all right, we're not ready for this yet. Let's try something else. But the biggest problem I've seen is I feel like when we're playing that Claw scenario, we have moments where we're like, yeah, we're in a good spot. We've got this. And then it's almost like right on cue, 2 people out of the 4 will have to reshuffle their deck at the same time. So it's just like, okay, well, there's 2 extra treachery cards. Oh no, do we have a scheme out that's getting an extra treachery card? And then for some reason there's like this effect of just like a wave of treachery cards just rains down upon us. And it just all starts spiraling out of control at that moment. And you're just like, oh no, what happened? We were doing so well. But I think a lot of that comes to, I mean, you mentioned this a long time ago, this communication, getting people to kind of pay attention to board state when they're doing certain actions and things, and trying to give people a heads up of like, hey guys, I think I want to shuffle my deck this turn, so we need to be ready for extra treachery cards. So just kind of learning some of those, I guess we'll refer to like new meta etiquette, table etiquette, to kind of give people a heads up in the morning. Like Medicate. There you go. Sure. Let's can we trademark that? Is that anyway? No. Do we? Anyway. So that's just like learning some things with the group to kind of better play through it. And then of course, we're gonna get Green Goblin soon, and all the joys he's gonna add with all those new modules.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, so talking about those schemes and those encounters, we'll get into that down the road, but we just wanted to talk more about what we're enjoying right now going into the holidays. So coming up, we have a whole bunch of new content dropping. We're going to SpongeBob that up, and then enjoy Christmas and enjoy New Year's, and then come back that week after. So we're going to take a little bit of a break unless something miraculous happens, and we might have to jump on if some crazy spoiler or something comes out or whatnots. But right now we're not doing anything scheduled until after
New Year's. I think the 7th is the date we have slated to come back.
Yeah. So other than that, I think we'll see you then. And thanks very much, guys, for searching us out right now and joining us. Appreciate it to the people that view live. Really appreciate your time catching this right now, and enjoy.
Yeah, you guys have a good holiday.
Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
Everyone. Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Yeah.